Dímelo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with Demos, where we talk tech, games, more games, and just random stuff. So what's all this talk about 120 frames per second or HDMI 2.1? What are we gonna do? Well, in this video, we're gonna take a crash course on all that stuff, but get those wallets ready, cause man, I don't know if we're gonna be able to afford all this stuff, on top of a new TV, a PS5, and Xbox Series X. So, stick around when I feed you some knowledge and drop all the information you'll need to know about HDMI 2.1. Let's do it! So I made a video talking about the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, not the Xbox One X, Zebra, Charlie, 4.5.29 ABC. Yeah, because it seems that a bunch of people, and maybe even the bots that these scalpers used, got really confused and just went ham on purchasing the current Xbox console when they were trying to preserve when they were trying to reserve the Xbox Series X. I mean, you know, if anybody from Xbox is listening, you can just go the PlayStation route, make things a lot easier and abbreviate, you know, XSX, XSS, XOX. On second thought, it's probably one typo away from this not being PG. Imagine introducing the new Xbox Triple. Anywho, I digress. So remember, we're talking about the specific specs for the new consoles coming out this holiday season. So in that video, we discussed the specs of what each console is going to deliver, and one of those is the 4K resolution at 120 frames per second. Also, if you didn't get a chance to see it, you can also check it out here if you want to, you know, and it'll help the channel a little bit, you know, increase those views. Anyways, as we mentioned, the PS5 will have all this new nice things, ray tracing, 4K TV gaming, along with up to 120 frames per second with 120 hertz output, 120 hertz output device or you know, hardware, as well as with the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. As you'll see, you know, gaming resolution true 4K with the performance target of up to 120 frames per second, etc., etc. So what does that mean? And, you know, I guess we'll give just a little general idea. It's important to understand that you will need a TV, obviously, like a monitor or TV, to display or have the capability of running at 120 hertz so that your game or whatever you're going to view can be seen at 120 frames per second. So when you're gonna go get that TV, don't be the doof that says, hey, okay, I'm looking for a TV with 120 frames per second. You're gonna look like an idiot because TVs aren't, that's not how they are categorized. TVs, monitors, and things like that measure their output in hertz. So a TV will be displayed or marketed as or having 120 hertz. We'll dive into looking TV specification so you can kind of get an idea of when you buy it if you are actually going to get that output. So you don't make the mistake of saying, well, yeah, I have a TV, I have the new HDMI 2.1 and all that other stuff, but it doesn't work. Well, you have to pay attention. You have to know what you're looking at. So what is HDMI 2.1? Well, it's a new enhancement or technology to the existing HDMI connection that's ready to go for the future of our audio and visual entertainment. HDMI 2.1 opens up the ranges, it opens up the doors to higher resolutions, advanced audio quality, and higher refresh rates or frames per second. These new features include 48 gigabytes per second, 8 to 10K resolution, and unlocks 4K at 120 hertz and 60 hertz for the aforementioned resolutions. The reason I specifically mentioned 4K at 120 hertz will matter in just a second. While you can get 120 hertz. At 8K, it requires a specific method called DSC compression that's not relevant right now for us because, again, the consoles, or at least the next phase or the next step in the future of HDMI and our TVs and this, again, the specifications that we're talking about, you won't have something that will produce that unless you do other really advanced audio or visual techniques. But before we get to the cable, if you want to get information about gaming news, PC games, video games, tech related to gaming, or technology in general, please consider subscribing and helping me out. It means a lot if you hit the subscribe button and share the video to anyone you think will appreciate it as well. So let's take a quick look at the HDMI.org website to get a little more direct descriptions and things like that. So the HDMI 2.1, as I mentioned, is a specification technology. And here's the overview. As you can see, all I mentioned, it is the most recent update of the HDMI specification, and it supports a range of higher video resolutions and refresh rates, including 8K and 4K 120. If we jump down, the highlights, as I mentioned, higher video resolutions, dynamic HDR support, ultra high speed HDMI cable, which we'll get to that. We continue with eARC enhancements or enhancements to the audio return channel. It's already available in the 2.0 specification, HDMI 2.0, but this adds it's an eARC, so it's a little more enhanced. But again, here in the website, if you want to dive deeper into that, you can click on each one of these to get more information if you're interested in that. But right now, you will just move forward and continue. So will you need a new HDMI cable? Well, the answer is yes and no. Why no? So if you're okay with a 4K TV outputting 60 hertz to watch Netflix, and you're fine with that, or you don't even know or care, then you're fine. You shouldn't have to worry about getting or purchasing another cable. So right now, I have a 4K TV using the same HDMI cable I've had for over 7 or 8 years. They still work, and I get the right resolutions and the right hertz. If you connect it and it works, then you're done. You will not get a better, cleaner image with a different or more expensive cable. Don't fall into that trap. Don't go into these retail stores and pay $50, $60, $70 for these quote unquote premium cables. We'll get into something that will, mark a difference if you want to go that route that's legit straight from HDMI. So an example of a HDMI cable that is HDMI 2.1 specific or has a technology for that is available right on Amazon. You can go, I'll show you, it's not sponsored, I'm just showing you a particular cable that you can look at, you can do your own research and go from there. But here you'll see that it says 8K Ultra HD high speed 48 gigabit per second HDMI cable, 6.5 feet, with 8K 60, 4K 120, etc. eARC, HDR10, all these other things. This is a cable that you can get for $20, depending on how long you need it. But this is legit. This is perfectly fine. This will work to get you your 120 frames per second. So HDMI has a certification program, like a cable certification program. As I mentioned, if you want to go this route and look for something more official, the information will be in the description below. But again, it's not necessarily required for you to get a quality cable. You can go this route or the route I first showed you with the cable from Amazon. Let's move on to how do I know if my TV has the right specification? Well, let's take a look at a website, like a retailer, that has the TV that you're looking for. For this example, we're going to use my own TV. We're going to go through it and make the best judgment from there. So here, this is the Crutchfield website. I'll have it in the description below. this LG OLED 55C8PUA, which is the model number for my TV, and the details and all that stuff. We go down and we double check, and boom, we're good. Screen refresh rate 120 hertz. Everything is pretty good. If you want to continue reading, you look at here, you look at, oh, this is pretty sweet. What are we doing here? 120 frame rate and all that good stuff, and all the other specifications. Ultra HD 4K resolution, and the video inputs right here. HDMI 2. Wait, this, it must be just some mistake. Wait, just give me a second. Are you
kidding me? All this time, yo, you know how much money I spent on this thing? All the time, the investment going to this store, going to this retailer. Yo, now I'm past the warranty. I can't even return this exchange, just get a different one. Oh my god.
So this is a prime and perfect example. As you can see here at the top, it shows or says 120 hertz, and you're like, okay, great, yeah. But you need to keep reading. You need to keep researching and making sure that everything lines up. More than likely, the 120 hertz that this is referring to could be for 1080p and or a software enhanced or capable 120 hertz, like the soap opera view, the vomit inducing thing, like you turn it on and it looks kind of weird. That's probably what it's also referring to, or might be referring to. So what I usually tend to look for is I scroll down and I double check that at least I go through the HDMI inputs. Further down, you'll see that it said here HDMI at 2.0. So I won't be able to get the 120 hertz at 4K resolution. So you ask, well, how do I know for sure that I'm going to get the specification on the TV? How can I check? Because again, if you go to the actual website or the actual brand's website and you download the manual, sometimes the manual is grouped up into with 5 different TVs within the same model that only gives you the instructions on how to turn it on, what's the recommendation to place it. I also want to be clear on another thing. If the monitor or any monitor or TV can indicate that it has 120 hertz, so that does not mean that your 4K image or your 4K resolution will play or have 120 frames per second, because that will depend on it having HDMI 2.1. What you do need to double check, and this will be a lot easier because almost all of the 2019 models and up, in 2020 for sure, will have all of this information on it, and even on the actual inputs. When you check the TV in the back, or before you purchase it or leave the store, some companies have the policy of opening up, showing you that it's not damaged, and you can just check the inputs and you'll see this. Right on the actual input, you'll see 4K at 120. So this is pretty much the best way for you to walk out 100% certain that the device that you're purchasing or the TV will be outputting at the resolution and the hertz that you want. I hope this was informative. Please make sure you share, subscribe, comment. Please ask any questions if I didn't explain something well enough. And peace.
And I found the